On this episode of Locked On Angels, it's FANMAIL Friday, and you were curious about the Mighty Ducks rebrand and if the Halos need to do the same. We're going to talk about that and so much more. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, it is, and yes, we are. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to get back to the Super Halo Bros for all this Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's really one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And this episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah, the right stay can make you a fan in any city, even in your rival city. Check out Booking.com for your stay today.
Hey, thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
It's our third season here at Locked On Angels. We're talking Angels baseball Monday through Friday with you every single weekday. On today's show, a little programming note, we're going to recap all 4 games of the Angels-Tigers series on Monday. We like to put those in a neat little package for you and recap. So if you're looking for what happened last night, we'll have it for you on Monday. Don't worry. We're going to talk about all 4 games, including Davis Daniel getting the start. I hope he did well. This is you guys are in the future right now. Mike and I are in the past. So we're just hoping that our guy, Davis Daniel, did well. But it is a Fan Mail Friday. We had lots of great questions. Mike, yesterday, I don't know if you saw that the Anaheim Ducks released a promo video for their new jerseys, their rebrand, and we had a lot of inquiring Halo fans reach out to us about it. Why don't you take us through that?
Yeah, they brought back a variation of the Mighty Duck logo.
They did.
I think everybody wanted to start going quack, quack, quack.
That's almost kind of like when people do the wings in the stands. Yep. Yeah, it's like, is that okay? I don't know.
I mean, once you get to my age, married for a while and got kids, you're a dad. You can do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want. Awesome.
Absolutely. So I'm quacking and I'm going to be flying like a halo. Now, the uniforms are orange.
Yes.
The promo was very celebratory, Johnny, of Anaheim, Orange County, Riverside County. And I loved this tagline, and I want you to talk about it. The tagline is, "We are Orange Country."
Yes.
Not Orange County, Orange Country. Talk about that.
And I honestly, I liked that it says Orange Country, not Orange County, because I think it does a service and serves the wider area. It incorporates all the surrounding places like Riverside County, Mike, even San Bernardino County, because everybody knows who's lived here a long time. It references this, how Southern California was covered in orange groves out this way.
Yeah.
And Anaheim, of course, Orange County, there you go. And up in Yucaipa, where we're both from, like, there are tons of orange groves used to be there, and Redlands. So I think Orange Country opens it up to, yes, Orange County, of course, but it opens it up to the rest of the SoCal area. Now, this was the interesting point of yesterday's announcement, or no, 2 days ago, actually. Vice President of Marketing for the Ducks, Merritt Tully, gave a quote on Wednesday saying, "We are distinctly not LA. We don't want to be LA. We're not from LA. Jerry doesn't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you. Nobody wants to talk to you. You hung up on my Nana?" That's what this sounded like. We are distinctly not LA. We don't want to be LA. We're not from LA. We're moving in a bold direction, and there's a reason for it. We want to represent people who are underrepresented. We believe Orange County is an underserved pro sports market. Mike, there's a lot of feedback, a lot of positive feedback from Ducks fans and especially Angel fans. In fact, it felt like the Ducks were doing exactly what the Angels should be doing when they said, "We are not LA. We want to serve Orange County and beyond." So we did get some questions here, Mike, about the Ducks rebrand from some of our Locked On Everydayers, and we'll share our own thoughts on this as well. But how about this one from Spencer Owen on Twitter? He messaged us and said, "I've always thought an Angels rebrand would be nice. I know a lot of people want LA out of the name, but even some new uniforms at least would be awesome. Maybe an away jersey that says something other than just Angels. Wondering if you guys have any thoughts on what you would want to see out of an Angels rebrand if they ever did. Why don't you start us out, Mike?
Johnny, I really think that it's time. And I thought back to when Artie bought this team. And even before that, remember the whole narrative of the Halos are back?
Yes.
I loved that.
Oh, yeah.
And that the A was back. And I loved all of that. And so I think it's time. I mean, it's been 20 years since they've made that change, a little over 20 years now. And so I think that you need to rebrand probably every 5 years, and that might even be too long. But I think with a sports brand and with a logo, I think freshening it up is always great. But when you freshen it up, you don't want to put lipstick on a pig. And what I liked about what the Ducks did is that this wasn't lipstick on a pig. No offense to pigs, but this was them choosing to go, okay, rebrand, but here's why. And they gave us the vision. They gave us the purpose statement. And I love that they said there are so many people here in Orange Country that are underserved, not just in OC, but also Riverside and other places. They are smart to include some of the IE, if not all of the IE, because a lot of fans in the IE are Angel fans. And it's an easy drive. And even those who are not fans of the Angels, might be fans of the Dodgers or the Padres or the Giants, they still go to Angel games, will root for the Angels unless their team is there. And so it's smart for the Ducks to be able to say, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to own this area. We're going to rebrand. We're going to give you a mission statement. We're going to give you a vision statement. Here's our purpose behind it. And quite frankly, I'm not even a hockey guy. I have a friend, we have a mutual friend who's a Ducks fan. He's a hockey guy. I get to work with him. I would watch because he's a fan, and I've been to a couple games with him. But this won me over 2 days ago, John. This won me over.
Oh, yeah.
I will certainly be checking out Mighty Duck games simply because of what was communicated by the organization in this rebrand.
I loved that they saw the void that the Angels left when they changed their name and rebranded to Los Angeles Angels and went, you know what? We're going to own Anaheim. We're going to own this city, this area, this county, the Southern California area that's not LA or San Diego. We're going to take ownership of that. Mike, that's exactly where the Angels have gone wrong. They were Orange County's team, and they're still Orange County's team, but I think the Ducks just took first place in terms of endearing themselves to the fans there. Look, it is a definitive statement to say, we are not LA. We're distinctly not LA. We're not going to rebrand to LA. We're going to serve this area that is underserved in terms of sports teams, and we're going to be proud of it.
Yeah.
Look, I'm in the Pasadena area. I'm close to LA. You could consider Pasadena like a suburb of LA. It's definitely in East LA. And look, it's Dodgers town out here. And very rarely do I find another Angel fan. It's fun when we do and we commiserate together.
Yeah.
But the fact is, being out here, it's so clear that there's a passion for the Dodgers, and rightfully so. And to take that away from fans in Orange County by saying we're marketing ourselves as being from Los Angeles, it's just not true. It's never really bothered me. But then again, I'm not an Orange County native. I'm from the Inland Empire. But the Angels have always been our team. And if those who don't know, a lot of people from Orange County in the late 90s moved out to the IE and Riverside because it was more affordable. There's some great developments happening. So that's why there's a lot of Angel fans out that direction. Now, Andre Seminis also messaged us. He said, would you embrace the Angels switching their colors to orange to embrace Orange County the way the Ducks are? I don't think that I would get rid of the halo red, but you know, before the City Connects got released, there were some mock jerseys out there, and there was like a really cool like navy blue jersey with some orange incorporated in it. And I'm honestly surprised. It felt like it was low-hanging fruit. Orange. It felt like it was low-hanging fruit to do something regarding the Orange Groves, Orange County. And maybe it's not too late. If the Dodgers can have 400 City Connect uniforms, then maybe the Angels can do that too. But I also think that would be an interesting direction to go. And maybe it doesn't have to be totally orange. I do like that navy blue and orange idea as like a City Connect. But Mike, it to me, it feels so strange to witness this because it just shows how the Samuelis got it right and Angels brass have got it wrong. Am I wrong here?
No, you're absolutely right. They certainly have their pulse on what's happening in Anaheim and in Orange County and in Orange Country. Again, I love that phrase. And they've always been like this, John. And I know the Ducks haven't been fantastic, but they continue to try to get better. And I'll check in with our mutual friend on how they're getting better. He is to the Ducks like we are to the Angels. Like he loves this team. And so I'll check in. And one of the things that he says all the time, John, is how he loves the ownership of this team. And here's what I love about them. When was the last time that you heard from them, controversy from them, issues from them, even just like a comment from, they let their people do their jobs. And I love that. And that's the type of owner that I think an Angel owner needs to be, whether it's Artie or somebody else. They need to have the right people around and let them do their jobs. We didn't hear from Disney when Disney was in charge. And Gene Autry is an anomaly because Gene Autry is just dearly loved. But you didn't hear much from Gene Autry either. He wasn't always in the media because he had other things that he was doing.
He definitely did his like, oh, I want that superstar. I want that guy. He definitely did that. Yeah.
And he's a fan. That's what people loved about him. And so I'm not saying that you can't say anything in the media. What I want is an owner that's a fan that lets his people do their jobs and do their jobs well and supply them with what they need. Man, any sort of hockey fan, even if you're a Kings fan and you're living in the OC, like this might move you in the direction of being a Ducks fan. And I would say the same thing for the Angels. Like there's 3 million people in that area. And the fact that they don't tap into that, the fact that they don't affirm that, the fact that they don't celebrate that, I think that there's a lot that the Angels are lacking in this situation.
What am I doing? What am I doing right now on the video side?
Too close. Your hands up to your face.
Yes. You can't see past the end of your nose, Mike. And that's this Angels ownership in a nutshell. Look, when Artie's a fan, he's admitted that he's a fan, but there's something to be said about John Carpino and company coming on, being, marketing guys and former billboard guys and college buddies. Look, you can't surround yourself with yes men. You have to surround yourself with people that are going to challenge you. And when Artie got here, there was a fervor because he was a fan. But you've rejected the fan base in Orange County. The stadium should be full. We have passionate fans who are the most loyal. They're loyal to the team now. They want to see the young guys play well. They're loyal to the team, even though they haven't made the best decisions front office wise. And I say this with my hand to my nose because you are leaving money on the table by branding yourself as Los Angeles. I don't care about, the Los Angeles market's the second biggest market. I understand all of that, but it doesn't make a difference whether you're the Anaheim Angels or the Los Angeles Angels in terms of the reach that this team is going to have. Just like with Shohei Ohtani, they couldn't see the money they were leaving on the table because they thought it cost too much. Somebody made an interesting point when we were talking about Ohtani the other day, how Artie tried to downplay Ohtani's impact on the game, probably because he was trying to downplay how much money you would have to pay to keep him. And he was wrong about that. And even with the $700 million, you could easily make that back. I think the Dodgers have already made that back. And you are leaving money on the table by not calling yourself Anaheim Angels or some variation of that. I've heard how about Orange County Angels? How about OC Angels? And I get that. But I mean, they're in Anaheim. And Anaheim deserves to have their name attached to the baseball team that's been there for 60 plus years, Mike. And it's a disservice to the city. I think it's a disservice to the fans there. I really think that they're leaving money on the table and a fervor for the team that's missing. I hopefully new ownership. We did our It's a Wonderful Life if Artie had sold over Christmas, and we did the whole what if scenario. And in our scenario, it was a rebrand. And it was a reintroduction of the team. And so that was a fun thing to do. I just think that this is a huge missed opportunity. So good on the Ducks, good on the Samuelis for doing this right. Mike, the last time we heard about anything from the Samuelis was OC Vibe and how they want to be a huge part of making that happen in Anaheim. I think that's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. Love that. Love this. And I think that the Angels need to do some work here. And so hopefully it's either Artie or it's a new owner, but the Angels need to do some work here in the brand that they hold.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen today. The Angels are playing the Tigers at 6:38 Pacific time tonight. You can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. All you got to do is search Angels. Coming up on Locked On Angels, if the Angels are sellers at the deadline, what type of players and positions should they prioritize in a return? We'll share our thoughts on the needs that the Angels have coming right up.
Hey, today's show is brought to you by our friends at Booking.com. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities that you always secretly wanted to learn more about. And with hotels, bed and breakfasts, and vacation rentals and resorts, and so much more, you can use Booking.com. You might just find your perfect stay, even if you're in your rival's city. And that's totally okay, because they're there to help you. Booking.com. From hotels that look over stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this Major League Baseball season. So right now, you can go to Booking.com and you can find a great place to stay, take all the guesswork out of your travel, and flex your booking power like the everydayers that you are with Booking.com. So book today, Booking.com, and their site is Booking.com, and you're going to be excited when you go there because you're going to say Booking.yeah. And Locked On Angels is also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. We love sports. We love them so much. We never want them to stop. But as the playoffs start winding down, fewer games are around. The sports aren't sporting sometimes, but FanDuel will always let you be sporty whenever you want. All you have to do is open up their app and then dream up any bets at any time whenever you're in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. You can get a boost or a bonus daily, something for everyone with FanDuel every day, all summer long. So head to their website, FanDuel.com/lockedon. When you go to that website, they're going to know that you came from Mike and John at Locked On Angels, and you can get the most out of summer. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And if you haven't checked it out already, everydayers, head on over to Locked On Sports Today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program just for you to bring you the biggest stories in sports. It brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, news, all the stuff you love about our show, but about the wide world of sports. It's streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And your team is playing tonight at home at the Big A against the Tigers. Angels-Tigers, 6:38 Pacific time. Catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. Just search Angels.
On this FanMail Friday, we are going to the voicemail line, and Carlos from Riverside has a question for us.
Carlos in Orange Country? There you go.
Orange Country.
Hello, hi, my name is Carlos Rivera from Riverside, California. Quick question. When we trade, whomever we trade, should we go for a specific position, or should we keep getting pitching, or what else should we trade for? Thank you. Bye.
Carlos, thank you for your voicemail, my friend. Thank you for tuning into the show and giving us a call. Mike, what positions should the Angels be trading for if they trade their players? Carlos didn't get specific about, like, who do we trade and what are the names we trade for? Just positionally, what do the Angels need? And I think that's a great question because sometimes we get caught up in, look at that prospect, but you really got to look at what the Angels have, who's ready to come up now, who's going to be coming down the pipeline in a few years. Based on the Angels' top 30 prospects, Mike, I think if we had to rank them, it might be a third baseman, somebody who can play the corner, people up the middle, shortstop, second base. The Angels have a lot of up the middle guys, but they are kind of a few years away. So it would take some time for them to have those guys develop. And then starting pitching, of course, is always a need and always a nice to have. But I think an ideal situation, and maybe you can speak more to this, are ready now players. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's what the Angels will probably prioritize. Think this 2 years ago. CJ Abrams and Mackenzie Gore were traded for Juan Soto. Those two guys just were starting their career in the majors, and they were ready now guys. They were ready to prove themselves, and I think the Angels want the same thing. James Wood is close to making his major league debut right now with the Nationals. Or think about Brandon Marsh and Logan O'Hoppe. That was a great trade, right? The Angels desperately needed a franchise catcher, and O'Hoppe was ready to play right now. And then when you think about the Noah Syndergaard from Mickey Moniak and Yadiel Sanchez, like, that was a really great trade. Now, Sanchez is still a few years away, but Moniak is here, and he's adjusting his swing, and he's starting to look like the Moniak from last year. And so I think that this is probably the direction that the Angels will go. I would say I would move in that direction, because ready now guys, or guys that are about a year or maybe two away, are probably the guys that they should prioritize. You've been on the train of trading Tyler Anderson and getting somebody like a Connor Norby from the Orioles. Johnny, he could probably come right over and play second base if the Angels could pull off that trade, right?
Yeah, if they could pull it off, it would take a lot. I'm not sure if it's a 1-to-1 or maybe you throw in a reliever, because the Orioles also need relief pitching, but you got to do what you got to do to get a prospect. Now, it might not be the Orioles. It might be somebody from the Brewers, or maybe the Dodgers come a-calling for Tyler Anderson, because they need rotation help and health as well. So all that to say, getting those guys who are either ready to play now, like a Connor Norby, and he's just kind of positionally blocked, or the guys who might be a year or two away. Positionally, Mike, the Angels have a big need for guys who are a year or two away. I think that is their biggest need right now. Nick Vlahakis on YouTube said, my biggest question is, would trading Rengifo be a bad move right now with the uncertainty of the Angels players due to injuries? His bat has been solid. Him being the first Angel in franchise history to play third, second, and right field in one game on Wednesday showed that having a super utility player is a necessity in the lineup. Well, first of all, Nick, I think, in my opinion, Mike, I don't know how you feel, I think the Angels need to extend Rengifo. I think that he's the perfect extension candidate. He's 27 this year. His prime years are here, ages 27 to 30. Even if he got a 5-year extension, that takes him through to age 32. That would take him through to 2029. And maybe the Angels are in a somewhat competitive window in 26, maybe even more like 27, 28, 29. So especially with the young guys developing and getting better, I think some of their best minor league players in terms of arms are coming up maybe next year, maybe 2026. So I think the competitive window is starting to open, but I think Luis Rengifo, if you're not going to trade him, you got to extend him. You got to do something with him. Now, if they don't extend him, I think that his value has never been higher than it is right now. And to answer Nick's question about, like, should we be worried about the injuries, I think we just need to accept the fact that the Angels are going to have to figure it out and get by, because this season is essentially a wash, especially if they sell the players that they should. But, it sucks to lose, but I think it would set them up for success in the future. And I think they'll still have guys like Guillorme on this team. They've got Zach Neto. They have some flexibility in the infield, maybe a few call-ups they haven't tried out yet, just to see how they handle the major leagues. Mike, Rengifo, extend him, keep him, trade him. What do you think?
I think you extend him. I'm with you in that sense, but I do think that if they do get rid of him, they trade him away. I get Nick's concern about health, but this is going to sound so simplified, but just run with me for a second. You need bodies. And so getting rid of a Rengifo and maybe getting two guys back, you need bodies. Now, you want good bodies. You want good players. I get all of that, right?
You're telling me I need a good body. Come on.
But I think that what the Angels could prioritize if they do trade Rengifo, obviously he's been healthy, they could prioritize getting some young guys who are ready to come and play, because what you'll find, and this is going to be a really bad example, but you're going to find the Zach Netos and the Logan O'Hoppes if you spend the time doing that. Now, I know they both have been hurt. I think O'Hoppes was kind of a freak injury, and then Neto was just a lot of playing time, and probably playing a lot of time because he hasn't played in that amount of games before. And so, but now look what they're doing this year. They're staying on the field and they're being great. And even in moments where they may have tweaked a knee or hurt something, they're coming back the next day.
Right.
Being young is a benefit to staying healthy. And so the Angels should prioritize a young roster of young bodies, of players that can actually have an impact either next year or the year after.
Oh man, remember being young? Remember what that was like?
Oh yeah, I remember it. It's right now. Friends, if you're going to the game, you got to use Game Time. They are now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, and it makes getting tickets a whole lot faster and easier. And they're obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. With Game Time, you can get last-minute deals on tickets and save up to 60% off all sorts of tickets, not just games, but concert, comedy, theater, so much more. And you can save more with exclusive in-app flash deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event. Hey, quick note, John, I wasn't with you for FanMail Friday last week because we went and saw Third Eye Blind with my son and with my wife. We got our tickets on Game Time. They hooked us up, helped us out, and we're able to find a seat because I got to see where I was sitting, a seat next to the aisle. So guess where I was? I was next to the aisle with all sorts of room. I love that. Game Time has all-in pricing, by the way, and I love this feature because it shows you the total right up front, no guessing at all. And then with every purchase, you receive Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download Game Time today. Enter our promo code when you do. Locked on MLB for $20 off your first purchase. Again, download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Mike, we're continuing our Fan Mail Friday questions, and there was a lot of questions regarding next year's moves, what the Angels could do next season, what they should anticipate doing, what we as fans should anticipate them doing. So Tony Pearson, an everydayer on YouTube, said, do you guys predict that next year we bring up Caden Dana and make a single starting pitching signing? I'm assuming Anderson is gone, Sandoval is out next year. So what combination of free agent signings and promotions from the minors will compete for a rotation spot? So in Tony Pearson's scenario, I think of if Caden Dana did get called up next year and Anderson is traded, you might see a rotation that looks like Detmers, Soriano, Griffin Canning, Chase Silseth, Caden Dana. But if we had our way, I think Dana would stay in the minors at least 1, maybe 2 more years.
Yeah.
Because I want to see him develop, Mike. I want him to get all the time that he needs to develop. I don't think there's an urgency in bringing him up because they do have bodies, like you said, who could fill in and take those rotation spots. But if they want to go the free agent route, some of the starters available, Corbin Burns, Max Fried, Michael Lorenzen, there's a lot of opt-outs next year, like Blake Snell, Garrett Cole, Robbie Ray. So those are some of the names that might come up. We also might consider Sam Bachman, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I would love to see Sam Bachman in this starting rotation at the end of the year if he's healthy, because I want to see him and what he can do. And then, of course, Davis Daniel, he's serviceable, could be a number 5 or swing starter for the Angels. Here's the thing about Caden Dana is that when somebody is Mike Trout-like, they are forcing your hand. You have to bring them up, right? And Caden Dana just entered the top 100 MLB prospects because Paul Skeens is now in the major leagues, right?
Yeah.
So he just entered. That's fantastic. I think that this guy needs to continue to develop for at least 1 more year. He hasn't done anything that would make you go, oh, you got to bring this guy up like a Paul Skeens, right? Now, that doesn't mean he hasn't pitched well. And if you compare him to our starting rotation in the majors, you would go, oh, got to bring this guy up, right? But compare it to a starting rotation that maybe has some experience and some veteran leadership, and you would say, nah, he's not ready yet. And with these guys that they have in the rotation, next year could be a really solid rotation if they end up adding somebody and letting Caden Dana continue to develop. And perhaps he develops so much that they bring him up in June or they bring him up in August and they're in a bit of a wild card run. There's a lot of hopeful conversation around Caden Dana, but ultimately I think he needs to develop a little bit more in the minors.
Chase Silseth is a good example because he was drafted in 21. He debuted in 22, had, some success, but also clearly needed a little bit more time. Then he came into the bullpen in 2023 and then got some starts. Clearly was a better starter rather than a guy out of the pen. And I think, he looked great in spring training, and then his first few starts, he wasn't great. And I think that had to do with whatever he was dealing with in terms of injuries. And now it's taken him time to get back. And I think injuries are a natural part of the process. But I will say this, I think that that's an example of what happens when you bring somebody up as quick as possible or the very next year.
Yep.
And I don't want to do that with Caden Dana. I think that there are things to work out, even if there is a knock on wood, like an inevitable injury, right? Like a shoulder thing or, a knee thing. I want to get those out of the way in the minor leagues and let him work through those things and come back. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think that the adjustment period to becoming a professional baseball player takes longer than we often realize. Hey, Ellie Boy 88 on YouTube says, love you guys all the way from Wales in the UK. That's awesome. Thanks, Ellie Boy. What should the Angels prioritize in the offseason? An elite bat to go along with Trout and the young guns, or a true ace for the starting rotation? Mike, I'd personally love to see Corbin Burnes come home to Southern California, be the ace of this staff next year, but I'll be interested to see what the needs of the team are once the trade deadline comes and goes. So I think this is a little bit difficult of a question to answer now, but definitely off the top of my head, I'd love to see Corbin Burnes come back to SoCal.
Yeah, just to be different, let me talk about Max Fried. I think he'd be great in this Angels starting rotation, especially if they're moving more towards right-handed pitchers with Soriano and Griffin Canning, and then eventually Caden Dana. I think that they would benefit with having a lefty in this starting rotation. My only concern about Max Fried is that he hasn't pitched more than 180 innings, and so he's really been an injury risk. He had some forearm stuff 2 years ago. This year, he's actually been a whole lot better. And so I think if I'm going to choose, I'm going to go with Corbin Burnes because he's more of your ace of the staff. And I just want Corbin Burnes to come back to Southern California.
Yeah.
Johnny Saucy James on YouTube asked this question. I like that, Saucy James. What should be done with Sandoval? Do you non-tender? Do you pay him for 2 years of arbitration and then see what happens in 2026? Or do you give him a contract extension that is presumably a little bit cheaper?
Yeah, I did a little research for this question. Thank you, Saucy James. Patrick Sandoval's making $5,025,000 this year as a result of arbitration. And there's two ways this could go. Usually in arbitration, the salary goes up year over year. So if he were healthy, Sandoval would likely get something over $5 million in arbitration. However, in this offseason and next, he's probably going to get significantly less money because he won't be pitching, right?
Yeah.
So he'd probably go from $5 million to, I'm just guessing here, maybe $2 million or less over the next 2 years in arbitration. So I think it would be in his best interest to sign a deal this offseason, maybe something like, just for example, 5 years, $20 million. So he would get $4 million a year from 2025 to 2029. And so that would take him through his age 32 season. This guarantees that he has a job after he recovers and he still gets paid, a relative good amount of money through his arbitration years. The Angels on their side get an affordable yearly deal, and they could even restructure it, Mike. So maybe during his recovery years, he gets like $1 million here, $1 million there. And then the last 3 years of the contract are $6 million a year because he's pitching again.
Yeah.
So that's just an example of what could happen, but the Angels could definitely go for a shorter deal. It doesn't have to be a 5-year thing, but I think if they're concerned about his recovery from Tommy John surgery, I think a shorter deal might be on the table, but buying out his arbitration years now and gaining an extra year, maybe 2 or 3 at a low cost is beneficial for the team. And I think it's beneficial for Sandoval because he's going to have a job, a guaranteed job once he recovers. And I don't know that he's going to make as much in arbitration because of these 2 years coming up where he's going to have to recover. So in my opinion, I think if they work out some sort of deal like the one I described, maybe $4 million a year for 5 years, takes him through his injury and earns you a couple more years after he would have been a free agent, I think that's the way to go for the Angels.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. The Angels play the Tigers at 6:38 Pacific time. Of course, you can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to today's show on YouTube. Find the episode, get in the comments section, hit that like button on the way down to the comments. It's the best way to get in touch with Mike and I. Mike, What do we have on deck for Monday's show?
We're going to recap all 4 games against the Tigers, and we're going to do it in a detailed way. So join us on Monday for that recap on Locked On Angels.
Is there any other way than detailed? Because we're
detailed, extensive. We're going to deep dive. We're going to buckle up, nerds. It's going to be awesome.
I love it. I love it. All right, friends, have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, and we'll see you back here on Monday. Nothing? Not a one?
Nope.